Hey, so today we're gonna be making mortise and tenon joints. This is a basis of furniture making, of tables and chairs and all kinds of things. You gotta know how to do a mortise and tenon, okay? So the mortise is the hole, the tenon is the board that goes through the hole, and we're gonna cut it all by hand with chisels and saws. Let's go. Okay, so one of the things that we've got to decide when we do our mortise and tenon is if we want this thing to be a through mortise and tenon, where I can see my tenon on the outside, or if we want it to be a blind mortise and tenon, where I cannot see it on the outside. Okay, it's just gonna butt in there. Either way, still a strong joint. We just have to decide beforehand. So, we're gonna do a through mortise and tenon on this one, where we're gonna cut the tenon proud so that it sticks out. Let's do it. So first thing I want to do is I need to know how wide my board is. Now this is a 2x4, so it's going to be 1.5 inches wide, okay? And then let's just say that we want to come out an inch past that, so 1.5 inches plus 1 inch is going to be 2 inches. So I will go ahead and mark where I want this board to go. So it's going to come out 2 inches, and we might as well wrap that all the way around the edges here. Okay, so something around the edge of this whole thing is gonna come off. Now I gotta decide how big my tenon is gonna be, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a 1/2 inch off of the short sides. And we're gonna take a 1/2 inch off of all the sides. Okay, so we've marked it. This is gonna be what's left of our tenon. All of this on the outside gets cut off. Let's do it. I gotta wrap my lines. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna line it up with my mark there, and I'm gonna wrap it down the side so that I can see how far down to cut when I am cutting those shoulders. All right, now we're ready. We got lines all over the place. So now we can set it in there and we can cut those shoulders. Okay, so again, grab your saw of choice, and we are going to line up on that mark there. And we're gonna cut down to that perpendicular line. It looks pretty darn good. Flip it this way, cut the other side. Using my thumb as a guideline here to create my curve. Looks good. Pop it up. Okay, there it is. We got that line cut all the way down the edge. So we'll stick this in the old vise this way, and we'll continue cutting. Clean that guy up a little bit with a chisel. Not bad. Next, we want to mark it out on here. And we want this to be pretty much right in the center. It's going to go in here. So lay this out however you want. I want this to sit an inch lower, and then we're going to be another ½ an inch lower than that. So that's going to be where the start of my tenon is going to be. ½ inch right there. And then my tenon is roughly 2 inches. So we're at 1.5 inches. So we'll come down to 2.5 inches. Okay. And then we're a ½ inch wide, which is just about perfect. This is 3.5, so half of that would be 1 3/4. So then we will go 1/4 inch on each side of that. That gives us 1.5 inches there, 1.5 inches there. And that would be where our tenon sits. Okay, so this is going to be what gets cut out. Now we need to mark that again on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and just wrap our lines up and over. Okay, go ahead and wrap those lines up and over. Inch and a half. So that'll get cut out on both sides. Okay, so there's lots of ways we can do this one as well. Let's go ahead and use a chisel and a mallet. Okay, so we're gonna start by marking all the way around our line, just making a little groove here, an outline if you will, so that we know where our chiseling should stop. We'll go ahead and do that on the end as well. Edge there to work against. We're going to switch to the smaller chisel, and we are just going to start digging our way out. Now you can see I'm using this prying motion. When I get towards the end here, I don't want to pry against this, especially because this is softwood. And we're just going to continue to do that all the way down until we get to about halfway. And we'll flip it and do the same thing. Okay, so as a side note, if this was a blind mortise and tenon and not a through mortise and tenon, I would stop here, I would clean this up a little bit more, but I would take my tenon and I would fit it in here. It's a little bit tight, still would need a little bit of fine tuning here, but you'd hammer it in there, and obviously the tenon would be shorter, and so then the shoulder of the tenon would sit right up on the face of the mortise board. Okay, so we're gonna make a through tenon. So now it's time, instead of cleaning up this the rest of the way, I'm gonna flip this over and I'm gonna start working on this side. before we go too far, we want to kind of taper in our tenon here, just a hair. Make sure she's nice and cleaned up. And then we're going to just chamfer these edges here. It's going to help it fit through. We're going to end up cleaning that off later on. All right, so fit her in there. Okay, so the through mortise and tenon. Now again, it's a design factor if you want this to stick out or not. It doesn't need to. You can cut it flush so you can just see the end grain. You can make it completely hidden in a blind one. You can stick it out further and have a tusk. You can do pretty much whatever you want there, but the point is this is a super strong joint right here, and that's your mortise and tenon.